What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Sportaholics. Tonight, we're going to be trying this Evan Williams Apple Straight Bourbon Whiskey.
Okay. All right. Payton was responsible for bringing the drinks this week, so I hope we like it.
And Russ, you know I'm looking for one word.
Delicious.
No, man. Not
what is it?
Smooth.
Oh, okay.
Just like I said last time.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay. All right. Smooth. All right. Let's see. We're going to get into it. But football is back, guys. All right. Kinda.
No, it's back.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. In this episode of the Sportsaholics, we get into some fantasy football rookies. Can the Celtics go back to back like Drake did Kendrick? I mean, no, he didn't. Meek Mills, because we know he don't want no smoke with Kendrick, right? All right. And who are some of the NFL players that are under the most pressure going into this season? All that and more right here on the Sportaholics. Y'all stay tuned. Come on, kids, gather around. All right. Yeah. I got a story to tell. Nah, but in all seriousness, man, for you guys that's watching at home, please be sure to share this along with all your friends. If you're not already, please be sure to follow us on Instagram, the channel on YouTube at Thee Sportaholics. Meet us in the comments, and we want to continue the conversation with you guys. So, Payton, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good, man. I have another thing to say real quick. Let us know if y'all are interested in a Week 0 halftime live recap and post-game live recap, because I'm going to be dialed in for Week 0. I know you are too. We'd love to discuss. So if any of you guys are watching out there, let us know. We'd love to do that.
Moving on to this season, man. Payton, how do you feel, man?
Well, I've got a bit of a rant I want to get off my chest. Okay. And I know you're going to piggyback off me here, but I am going back to the well with the whole preseason conversation and what can we really take away from the preseason.
All right, well, talk to us.
Well, I'm going to throw some stats your way about a player from last preseasons, if you will. It won't take too long. Real quick, but
go for it.
I found an example of a young QB tearing up preseason from last year. He went 28 for 37, completing over 75% of his passes, had 3 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, and had a quarterback rating of over 120. You want to guess who that was?
Russell Wilson.
Good guess, but no.
Okay.
Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders. By season's end, he was traded. So you can see my point in that we don't really know how these guys are going to perform in the regular season. And I got to say, I'm going to go out on a limb here a bit because I highly respect this head coach. I think he's one of the best offensive minds in the sport. But we got to slow down on the Bo Nix hype train.
Oh, yes.
Because I turned on the TV the other day and I heard an analyst talk about how he looks like a 10-year vet out there.
Yeah.
Look, we don't know what he's going to look like yet. And it's okay to say that during the preseason. So those are my main takeaways. And by the way, Vegas doesn't favor the Broncos to do that much this year anyway, even with the Bo Nix hype.
Right.
They're slotted to win 5.5 games. They're near the bottom of the league. So
I'm going to pick the over on that, though, if I had to pick.
Okay.
I can see them winning 6.
Yeah, maybe.
I can see them winning 6. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But along to your point, man, preseason football, I am tired of it, man. I am tired of watching preseason football. I know you got to cut the roster from 100 men to 53 men, and that's hard. But when you go to the park and you play pickup basketball, you kind of know who you want on your team, right? So let's figure out a way to get that right in practice. Because I'm tired of watching this boring behind football.
I hear you.
I get it. I get that something has to be on. The first week was cool.
Yeah.
Second week is okay. But this third week, it seemed like it's a bit much for me, man.
Hey, this is why we have Week 0 for you, you know? That's going to be live bullet.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Let's figure out a way to make preseason count a little bit more. Maybe we come up with some type of ranking system in the preseason, and then we take those rankings into the regular season. I don't know. But in all seriousness, how do you take away one game, 1 week? Like, we used to have 4 games, right, in the preseason, but now we only have 3. And the preseason seems longer than it was when it was 4 games. I don't get it. So let's figure out a way to either make it shorter than what it already is, or figure out a way to make it count a bit more, because I'm tired of watching these glorified scrimmages, bro.
I hear you, man.
I'm tired.
I will say, hopefully you get your wish, because as we all know, the NFL has been talking about moving the regular season to 18 games, which would most likely mean the preseason goes down to 2 games.
Yeah.
It'll probably still feel long, but at least we're trimming it down a bit.
Man, I can't wait for that. But while we're already on the topic of football, Payton, can you give me some fantasy football rookies that you thinking about drafting, or are you into fantasy football? Do you play?
I'm into it a little bit. I don't have my own team, but I like to keep up with my friends and see how they're doing with their teams. But I will say there's one rookie quarterback that I'm really looking forward to watching.
Wait, so you play fantasy football from like the suite level, right? You're watching from the nosebleeds.
I would say the nosebleeds more so, not the suite.
Okay, I got you. So, if you could choose a rookie to draft in in fantasy football, who would you draft first? Who would be first off your board?
Ooh, so I was gonna go with the quarterback, but since you're asking me who I would draft first, I think I'd have to go with Malik Neighbors.
Okay.
No bias there, coming from LSU, but I think he's a guy where you just figure as an offense, let's find a way to get this guy the ball any way possible. Because whether it's a short pass that he can take to the house for 60 yards, or a situation where he just runs by the DB and you pop him over the top, he's going to get it done either way. So that's what I'm looking for.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. Malik Neighbors is an amazing talent. All right, he's a talented receiver. But if I was gonna draft a rookie wide receiver, it would have to be somebody that has a quarterback that I can trust. And right now, I can't trust Danny Dimes. So for my pick would go to Xavier Worthy out of Texas. And you know who his quarterback is, right? Patrick Mahomes, right? So that's somebody that I can trust. And that gives me a little bit more comfort if I was to draft this guy in fantasy football. If I'm going to waste a pick and draft a rookie, which I have drafted rookies before, but if I'm going to use my pick to draft a rookie, it has to be somebody that's a skilled player. I wouldn't draft a quarterback like you were about to say. But
don't sleep on Jaden.
Listen, I'm not sleeping on anybody, but I wouldn't waste my pick drafting a rookie quarterback. Right. He would probably be like later in my throwaway, my garbage time picks, right? Ooh. So, but Xavier Worthy, receiver for the Chiefs. He's lightning in the bottle. This is a guy who just broke the NFL combine record for the 40 speed, running a 4.21. And not only that, but last year he proved himself to be a reliable source by catching over 75 balls. He had over 1,000 yards. So when defenses are playing over on Kelsey, Rice, Hollywood Brown, like when those guys are being covered, I think there's room for Worthy to scoop in some extra receptions there and prove his self-worth, if that makes sense. Yeah. And two other guys that I was thinking about, but like I said, if I'm going to pick a receiver, it has to be a quarterback that I can trust. But two guys would be Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jaguars, and then also Rome Odunze from the Chicago Bears.
And this guy knows how high I am on Brian Thomas Jr., by the way.
Yeah.
Star in the making.
No, 100%. And we'll see. We'll see coming up soon. But those are two players that I like, along with Neighbors. But two players that I like that I can't trust their quarterback just yet. While Caleb Williams is showing us a lot of talent, we talked about this in our live on Tuesday, but I don't think that's the way that he plays the game is sustainable over the long run. Maybe the first couple of weeks is something to get used to, but by all means, I don't think that's something that he want to continue to do throughout the rest of the season. And with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence has had his issues with injuries and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's somebody that I can rely on to be there week in and week out. And I know you're a major Jaguars fan, bro.
I am. By the way, I'm going to have a rant on them at some point. I'm working on it.
Yeah. So you got two rants loaded.
Yeah.
You got a Jags and a Saints.
No doubt.
Rant.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've never been a fan of two NFL teams. Like, I have my backup team.
One AFC, one NFC.
Okay, if you put it that way.
I grew up in Florida. I've got family in Louisiana. I don't know.
And you went to school in Louisiana.
I'm a big fan of a lot of teams.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, you're a fan of the sport. You are what we call a sports enthusiast.
Or a sportaholic.
Oh, I missed the opportunity there.
Hey,
I missed the opportunity there, but it's all good, man.
Hey, but I got to chime in real quick because I've obviously been pro LSU with naming the guys like Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas. How about we go away from LSU for a second?
Okay.
Another potential rookie that I'm looking at for fantasy leagues. What about Brock Bowers, who just got picked number 13 overall? Yeah, the tight end. I mean, I was watching the off-season Hard Knocks with the New York Giants, and Coach Brian Dable talked about a conversation he had with Nick Saban.
Yep.
And he asked him, in SEC play, who gave you the most problems at the skill positions? One of them being Malik Neighbors, the other guy being Brock Bowers. So he's going to be a problem at the next level. I know you might disagree with that as far as his rookie season, but if you're looking for a late-round tight end, could be a good pick.
Listen, I don't disagree with the fact that he's a rookie, but what I will disagree is he don't have no quarterback.
He don't know. Gardner Minshew won 9 games last year.
Lord have mercy, man. Minshew mania was a thing for your Jacksonville Jaguars, but I don't know if I really like him in Oakland. But
Vegas, you're good.
I'm old.
But we both like Vegas, though.
Yeah.
We both like them as a team.
I do like Vegas only because of the brand. I love everything about that organization. Yeah. I can get into details about some of the things that I don't like about them, but I'm going to leave that for another day. With that being said, I wouldn't personally draft a rookie tight end, and that's just my opinion. Some people do it. But I wouldn't personally draft the rookie tight end, but I will grab them off of waiver wires. Like last year, I was able to scoop up Sam Laporta off the waiver wires, and he did nothing but damage for me last year. So I do think there's good value in rookie tight ends, but I don't think that there's value in drafting them on my roster, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Any other rookies you got in mind, or?
You hit on Xavier Worthy. That was the steal for you because I was thinking about him as well.
That's somebody I'm going to be watching close this season.
He's a quick hitter, especially with Mahomes.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be their go-to deep threat, and he can just hit one of those 50 to 60-yard touchdown passes. There goes most of his production for the day. You don't even have to worry about the rest of the game. So.
With his quickness, he's going to be a problem off of the line.
Yeah.
100%. And he's not going to be getting the best DBs on defenses. Like, he's not going to have the top cornerback. So I do think he will have opportunity to make some big plays and big splashes coming up in the next season. So let's switch gears here and let's talk some NBA basketball. So it came out and the Celtics are favored to win the championship again. What do you think the road for the Celtics winning the championship again is, and do you think it's possible?
I think it's possible. If I had to pick one or the other, whether they're going to win it or not, I would go with not winning it, which is an easy choice. And you brought up the fact that there hasn't been a repeat champ in quite some time.
Right, since the Golden State Warriors, since 17-18.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I just look at two entities and or things, one being a player, one being a team, that have gotten in the way of the Celtics over the past 5 or so years.
Okay.
One of them being LeBron James, the other being the most well-run organization I've seen in the NBA in my sports viewing lifetime.
Who's that?
The Miami Heat.
Oh, yeah.
And that hurts because I'm a Magic fan and you know that. But I got to be honest about it.
Yeah.
If you think about their championship runs, their relevance overall. But quickly, I'll just go through it. In 2018, for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's first trip to the Eastern Conference Finals, we all know about the mission that LeBron was on that year.
Yep.
You go to the bubble year when the Heat beat the Celtics in the conference finals.
Yep.
The Heat beat the Celtics again in the conference finals a year ago. So those are the two teams I'm looking at, or the Lakers and the Heat, as crazy as it sounds.
Right.
And some people may not even consider those teams to be surefire contenders like the Sixers or the Bucks or the Nuggets or the Mavericks. But those are the two teams, or the Heat and the LeBron James, that have gotten in the Celtics' way over the past 5 years. So those are the two teams I'm looking at. If I had to pick, I would say the Celtics don't repeat.
I am kind of with you. It will be hard for them to repeat. But what I will say is they are fully jailed. Okay, I think that last year Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown figured out a way to get out of each other's way. And they did it better than Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving kind of did it. Like, if you watch Kyrie Irving and Luka, like, one player is, up high and the other person's handling the ball, and then when the other person handles the ball, like, it's kind of like they're standing out of the way. But I think the Celtics did a good job of making sure that both of those players were able to mesh together. And then let's not forget about the supporting cast with Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn. Like, we can't forget about that. So I think not only that, but if the Celtics took this offseason to take advantage of developing themselves as a unit, in which they spent more time this summer together, all right, because they have 3 players on their team, should have been 4, but they have 3 players who just won gold medals in France. So not only that, if they take that and they ride that high into next season, even though it's a long season, it's a long time, like the Olympics are going to be removed, like well removed from their memory by the time they get to the playoffs. But I do think they should be hungry after that. Like, they should have a more of a point to prove. And it's going to come down to a couple factors. Like, you did mention a couple things and a couple teams that stand in the way of the Celtics. But my teams would be all in the East and all relevant right now. So you got Philly.
Yep.
You got Milwaukee. And then you also have New York, the Knickerbockers, right? So I believe that the Knicks will be the hardest matchup for the Celtics, because one thing I learned in last year's playoffs is you can't count Jalen Brunson out. And I think he's going to be on a tear this year.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that Jalen Brunson does is not only does he make the people around him better, but I also think that Jalen Brunson, when the people around him are not producing,
he can carry the load.
Yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind being that dog for the team. So I do think I think it will be hard for them to go back to back, because like you said earlier, or like we talked about, it hasn't been done since 17 and 18. And also in history of the NBA, it's slim. Like, the odds of teams going back to back. We've had 7 teams win a championship, 7 different teams win the championships since the Warriors did it.
Right.
So
with the exception of these powerful dynasties, like when you get the Kobe and Shaq going three-peat, usually it's divvied up.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of back-to-back champs.
Right. So I do think that it's possible. If the question was, is it possible for the Celtics to win the championship? But the likelihood of it is up in the air right now.
I'll say, to cap off the conversation, and I like the 3 teams you brought up, the Knicks, the Bucks, and the Sixers. The past 3 times that the Heat have played each of those teams in the postseason, the Heat have beaten them all.
Right. And my thing is, I'm saying we as if I'm a Miami Heat player, but I am a Miami Heat fan. I'm Miami everything, by the way. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But my thing is, I don't think Philly right now. I don't think Philly, even with the addition of Paul George, is a threat. Not to the Celtics, not to the Knicks.
Or the Bucks.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's possible. But I don't know where to put my Heat right now. Like, I really don't know where to put my Heat right now, because we went out kind of sad last year. But
I'm not counting them out, obviously.
Well, I would never count them out, but I'm a realistic fan.
Yeah.
So I don't want to just sit here and say, the Heat going to the Super Bowl, to the championship. But I do think that Philly will find a way to get in their own way, if that makes sense. Like, I believe even with Paul George on the team, we know historically what Philly has done in the postseason year after year. And I think that they will continue that. And I think while Paul George has a lot of confidence in himself, he understands that it's possible we probably will never win a ship here. Like, you know, like I think he got his bag and he good to be on another team, another contending team at that. So I don't know. Like I said, I think New York will be the biggest obstacle for the Celtics. And if the Heat are looking strong, if we can get a solid Tyler Hero, like we got in rookie Tyler Hero in Miami,
right?
I think Miami can be a problem because they do have a lot of young developing talent down there.
To me, they have the dynamic duo, and it takes two to tango. That's where it starts. To me, Jimmy Butler is a playoff riser. Bam Adebayo is one of the most underrated centers in the league. And I trust Pat Riley to surround those two with serviceable pieces. That's the thing. If you look at the history of the NBA, it really does take two to tango.
It can be two, but it takes more than two. Like, it takes two to tango, quite literally. But I believe that it takes more. It takes 3.5.
Nowadays,
to be honest
maybe?
with you. Yes, 100%.
We'll see.
If you look at the greatest teams, they have 2.5 to 3.5 players on their roster that are
at least stars.
Right. That are those pieces that they can rely on heavily.
Sure.
So, yeah, 2 is nice. But look at Dallas.
Right.
You know, and they had 2.25. You know, they
fell short.
Right. Yeah. So, while 2 is good, you kind of need 3.
All
right. So, but moving right along, jumping back into the NFL, there are some players in this league that have bounced around from team to team. Some players who haven't panned out the way that most people would think they should have panned out. So we call that under pressure, right? Who are some of the players on your radar that are under the most pressure going into the next season?
Yeah, the first name I'm going to go to is Kirk Cousins, because if we all remember the Falcons last year, that was one of those teams where we're all sitting there saying they're just a quarterback away. We know about the pieces between Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson. We know about the up-and-coming offensive line, all that good stuff. But
I like Bijan.
Yeah, Bijan's nice. The point you brought up in a previous episode, they drafted Kirk's replacement.
Right.
And we both believe that Michael Penix was at least the second most pro-ready quarterback coming out.
Pause right there. So Penix is the second pro-ready quarterback.
Sure.
Who's number 1?
Jaden Daniels from LSU. See, it looks
guy,
like I'm biased, but I try to take the bias lens off.
Okay.
And there's a reason he was picked second overall.
Okay.
You know? That's what I'll say.
Neighbors.
See, I had to throw Brock Bowers in there.
Man, come on, man. All right, but go ahead, bro. Go ahead. So
no, but to your point, Michael Penix is ready to go.
Yep.
And we've talked about how much can you take away from the preseason. He looked good, and he looked comfortable. So I'm looking for Kirk Cousins to elevate his play. They're expected to win the division. They're expected to be a contender. I think he's under some immense pressure.
Contender is crazy. Contender? For what? The division championship?
If you win the division and then you're in the playoffs, I mean, anything can happen.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
But Kirk Cousins playoffs. All right. Anyways, but what I will say is, Kirk Cousins is in the same boat as somebody else that's on my list, and I'll get to them later. But I don't think Kirk Cousins is under that much pressure. He's locked in. You know, he's not on the last year of his contract. He literally just signed another contract. And even if he is under pressure, guess what's going to happen if they choose to trade him away or cut him, whatever the case may be.
He's still going to have all that guaranteed money?
He's still going to get paid. So he is not under any amount of pressure. If he's a backup, guess what's going to happen? Still going to get paid.
I think he's a competitive guy, though. He wants to play a couple more years. If he underperforms, you know they're going to go with Penix at some point.
Kirk Cousins is trying to find a way to not be at home. that is pretty much it.
Well, then maybe that's pressure to him. He wants to keep playing.
But I'm a piggyback off of you, but I'm a say somebody here that lines up outside, right? So I'm not going to go at the quarterback just yet, because quarterbacks are always under high scrutiny. But I will say, Stephon Diggs, he is under immense pressure this year. All right, after he cried his way to get out of Minnesota, after going to Buffalo and then crying to get out of there. Like, Stephon Diggs has a lot to prove, and I think this year he is under a lot of pressure to produce. While he has a lot of pieces around him that can make him stand out, you know, whether it's the ball going to Tank Dell or defenses locking in on Tank Dell rather than Stephon Diggs, or either having to split between Tank and Stephon Diggs. You know, he has the quarterback in C.J. Stroud that can get the ball to either one of those guys. And not only that, he can run the ball. Their team has the opportunity to run the ball. They have a good running back in the backfield. So by all means, I think Stephon Diggs is a good fit for the Texans. But if it doesn't work out this year and he underperforms, my bet would be, or what I would say is, I think that he cries his way back into Minnesota and say, I miss you guys so much. Can I finish my career here? You know, and line up alongside Justin Jefferson. Speaking of Justin Jefferson, this is going to be a tough year for Justin Jefferson because I got somebody else on my list to talk about.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with the Houston Texans here shortly. But anybody else on your list that you have your eye on?
We've talked about him at length, but there's no getting around it. There is pressure on Caleb Williams going into this season. We know that he's the featured quarterback on Hard Knocks.
Okay.
All of that stuff. We know that there's a favorable situation there for a rookie quarterback. You know, if you compare what he enters into to what Bryce Young entered into with the Panthers, big difference there in terms of personnel they placed around the quarterback. And then you consider what C.J. Stroud did last year as a rookie. You know, you hit on the Texans earlier. He was phenomenal last year. So everyone has been saying, if he can do it as a rookie, why can't Caleb?
Right. So I don't think Caleb is under any pressure. I think the pressure would come from himself and his belief in himself. He will probably put more pressure on himself than the Chicago Bears organization would put pressure on him.
Okay.
I believe that they think they found their guy, and they will give him room to mess up and grow at the same time, as long as he's growing from the mistakes that he's making.
Yeah. Now, the only thing is the coach is on the hot seat, essentially. If they have another 7-10 season, there's a chance he's gone. So.
Right. I don't think that with a 7-10 season, I don't think he'll be gone. I think that they bring him back for probably one more season to see if he can improve from that 7-10 season and probably swing it around and go 10-7. Yeah. But that's just me being optimistic. What I will say is, if they go 3-14, then that's a different story.
For sure. Like any team, really.
Right.
Unless you're in a full-blown rebuild.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I hate to be combative with you here, Payton, but I do think that there is some room for error in Chicago with Caleb Williams.
Okay.
So good. I mean, I think that's a good choice when it comes to our list of players that are under the most pressure. But I think the media is putting a lot of spotlight on him, and whether he chooses to bend or break is ultimately up to him. If you know, you're a basketball player, you know how it is when you're shooting the ball. Like, either you're gonna shoot it or you're gonna start passing the ball a little bit more because you've been off. You know, so you got to have that confidence in you in order to say, you know what, I know I've missed 11 in a row. Clay Thompson.
Ooh,
but
shots fired.
But are you gonna still continue to shoot? You know what I mean? So that's the thing. I think Caleb Williams, as long as he remains confident in his ability, he will be able to get the job done.
Yeah.
Whether they go 7-10, it doesn't really matter. I think that he's gonna be their guy moving forward in the years to come. But one player that's on my list, him just like the last person that I mentioned, Stephon Diggs. Him and Stephon Diggs are in the same boat, and that player would be Sam Darnold. All right, so I did mention Stephon Diggs going back to Minnesota. Quarterback in Minnesota right now, Stephon Diggs. J.J. McCarthy is hurt, so by all means, it's all on Sam Darnold to get the job done, right? And if he doesn't,
this is his last chance.
This is
his fourth team?
End of the line.
Yeah.
It's the end of the line for Sam Darnold. Yeah. All right, so what I will say, this is a journeyman, but unfortunately, this could be his last stop. And if we really want to talk about it, talk about a guy that's been skating through the NFL his entire career, right? So he started as a Jet, and when he was a Jet, guess what? He was trash, right? Then he moved on to the Panthers, and he was given the job by Baker Mayfield. And when Baker Mayfield was the quarterback at the Panthers, guess what he was? Trash. He looks a little bit better now, though. Mm-hmm. He looks a little bit better. Maybe he in a better system. I don't know. But at the end of the day, he was trash. Then Sam Darnold stepped in, and guess what happened? He was trash, right? And then he went on to the 49ers. When, where, how, who? I'd never seen him. He was non-existent, right? So now is his opportunity to be a starter. He doesn't have anybody behind him that's pushing him out of the way. But if he doesn't succeed this year,
he's going to be a backup moving forward.
Backup or out the league.
Yeah.
He's going to be a backup out the league.
I got one more player for you that I'm going to bring up. And I know Russ is wearing his shades right now, so you're not going to be able to see him roll his eyes. But what about Aaron Rodgers? I think the guy can be a top 7 to 8 quarterback in the league this year.
7 to 8 quarterback?
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
I can see it. I can see it. It's not like
I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's not like 7 is 3, right?
Okay.
7 is 7.
But I think you'd quickly be able to name like 6, 7 guys that you'd take over him.
I don't know. I'll get to my point about Aaron Rodgers in a second, but I'll let you finish your thought.
Well, yeah. In the first episode, we talked about how this is Aaron's team. There was one thing I forgot to mention in there, man. You know, you think about Tom Brady going to Tampa or Payton going to Denver.
Yep.
At that point in their career, they had major influence on the offense.
Right.
I think this is a similar situation here with the Jets. Aaron is going to have major influence on the play calling because Nat Hackett is his guy from Green Bay.
Yeah.
So, although they have a talented roster, I think if he's able to get this done and get the Jets into the playoffs, which I'm not saying he will, we're going to have our predictions here at some point.
Yeah.
That's a bigger lift than people realize. If you think about it, the Jets have the longest playoff drought in the NFL, and they've got an unproven coaching staff. I mean, this is Robert Saleh's first job.
Listen, you said Robert Saleh, but the first thing that came to my mind was those Adam Gase eyes when he had that interview with the Jets. That's the first thing that popped up in my head. But go ahead, finish your thought, bro. Finish your thought.
No,
don't let me throw you off. I mean, I could jump in here.
I'll let you take it because I already made a few points.
All right, I'm gonna keep it real with everybody, right? Aaron, and I hate the fact that I was combative with your list, right? But Aaron Rodgers isn't under any pressure. He has one more year on his contract. But the problem is everybody wants Aaron Rodgers to be a savior. And he ain't that. He's not that at all, right? Can he prove me wrong? Sure. Is the likelihood of that happening low? It is, right? But yes, he's the last two out. Yes, he won the last 2 out of 4 MVPs. Yes, he's a Super Bowl champion. Yes, he can still sling it. But we all know that quarterbacks in the NFL at the age of 40 are not that successful to the point where they're putting teams on their back. You know what I mean? They can be the bridge between now and the future, but him being a savior of that organization, that's not it. He would be very lucky to hit 500 with these 2 years left on his contract, right? Ooh. So what's going to happen is this year, he'll probably go 8-9. And everybody will be like, oh, Aaron Rodgers, he's going to come back and he's going to have a breakout year next year. Breakout? What? Retirement is calling, right? But then next year he's going to come back, and then guess what's going to happen? He's going to go 9-8. Like, so by all means, like, that AFC East is nothing to play with. So if everybody's thinking that he's going to come in and he's going to beat Buffalo and he's going to beat Miami, yeah, everybody's probably going to be pounding the New England Patriots because we don't know what kind of
season they're going to have.
No, we know what kind of season they're going to have. I was just trying to be mindful and censor myself because I was about to say some very, very naughty words. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's really why I had to break there, because I was about to say something that's going to get me banned off TV. But what I'm saying is, Aaron Rodgers, everybody wants him to come in and be the holy grail for the Jets organization, but that's not going to be what happens. Aaron Rodgers, unless he proves me wrong, and he can, like, I don't think that I have no faith, because I know what Aaron Rodgers used to be.
Yeah.
We don't know what Aaron Rodgers is after the Achilles tear, after our offseason of not being in the building, after choosing himself over the team, after, you know, being distant for a long time. So by all means, like, I don't think that he's under any pressure. I think the people just hold him up higher than what he really, really wants to be. And even when he took this job with the Jets, I was like, yo, like, it don't look like Aaron Rodgers really wants to be a Jet. He really just wants to be out of Green Bay, you know? So that's really my take. And I hate the fact that I went against everybody on your list, Payton.
You shot down all my players.
yeah, man. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
It's all right, man.
Yeah, but
I still believe those players are under at least some type of pressure.
I think, you know, and at the end of the day, and I'll wrap this up right here. Like, I think all players in the NFL are always under a lot of pressure.
Fair.
You know, I think some people just get a little bit more scrutiny than others. So, you know, while this is Caleb Williams' rookie year, yeah, the lights are bright, but I wouldn't say that he was under any pressure. I think because this is the real reason why I say that there's no pressure for Caleb Williams, because if he does bad this year, he's going to be back in the NFL next year. Sam Darnold, if he does bad this year, he's going to fade off into the shadows of the NFL. Right. So that's the difference between the pressure that's on Caleb and the pressure that's on Sam Darnold. If he want to continue to get paid and provide for his family the way that maybe he goes into the broadcast booth like Tom Brady, maybe. But his days are numbered in the NFL if he doesn't produce this year. And honestly, for the Vikings organization, what is a productive year for Sam Darnold? What does that even look like? You know, so I think there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Yeah. Like a lot of pressure going around at the NFL. Yeah. But speaking of pressure, I wonder how much pressure is on FSU to win this week 0 football game.
A fair amount of pressure. They are a double-digit favorite, so they better win it.
Yeah. What is it, 10.5?
It's been moving back. You know, it opened at 13.5, down to 10.5 now.
Yeah. So what are some of your thoughts on the game with FSU versus Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland? You like my Irish accent?
I thought you nailed it. To be fair, it's better than my accent.
I don't know why my voice got deeper, but but
you made it work.
What are some of your thoughts on this week 0 game? What is week 0, bro?
It's real football. It's better than the preseason, like we were talking about.
Yeah,
something.
I'm happy that we're gonna get a game that's gonna count.
So I am gonna go into my thoughts about the matchup, but first of all, I want to praise Florida State a little bit. You know, a lot of people have been talking about how they're gonna fall off this year because
praise Florida State, bro. We don't do that here. What are you talking about? Praise Florida State. What? Hey, go Canes! Yeah. All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean.
You're good.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just saying, like, as a Canes fan, we not praising no Knowles anywhere, anytime, any place. Better get that out of here. Sorry. All right.
So first of all, I'm very high on Florida State as a team this year, and that's not just because they kicked my LSU Tigers' butt last year.
Okay. Sorry you had to go through that, by the way.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was a tough one, but
We've been losing to them for a while now.
And you know what? I'm going to call my shot now since it's week 0 and Florida State's playing in week 0. I think they're going to win the ACC this year and guarantee a spot in the playoff.
Wait, what? You know the Canes. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
No, but a couple of things I'm looking for in this game. So I want to see if Florida State's offense can take advantage of the question mark that is Georgia Tech's defense. Because of the 4 units, I think Georgia Tech's defense is the biggest question mark, relying on a ton of transfers, some young guys, things of that nature. As for Georgia Tech, I want to look at them because when you look at a game with a big point spread like this, you kind of take the underdog and say, what can they do to win the game?
Yeah.
So I want to see if they can set up their offensive line for success by way of getting creative in the pass game early, maybe passing on early downs.
Yeah.
And then also letting the quarterback, Haynes King, have his influence on the run game, get a numbers advantage inside using that option game as him as a threat to run the ball. Those are some of my thoughts on the game. What do you think?
Yeah, so, no bias in this, but at heart, I'm an underdog type of guy, right? And I love a good Cinderella story. So I will say this. I'm going to ride with the underdog on this one, right? Parlay my pockets. And not only do I see GT winning the game, but not only do I see them covering the spread, but I see them winning the game as well, right? And if there's no better place for it to happen, it's when all eyes are on you. There's no other games happening this weekend. So by all means, everybody is interested to see football that actually matters, right? We've been watching all these practices and all these scrimmages, but we want to see football that actually matters. So everybody will be locked in on Saturday when kickoff happens. And I think Georgia Tech has the opportunity to take advantage of that. Will they flatten out after this week? Probably, but by all means, they have the most time to prepare for this game. They've had this game circled on their schedule for a while. So this is the best opportunity for us to see the top 10 shaken up, right? So I do believe that if Georgia Tech beats Florida State, the playoff committee has the opportunity to say, see, I told you Florida State wasn't going to be good without Jordan Travis.
Oh, you really had to go there.
I'm just saying that's basically what they said last year. So by all means, that's what they're gonna be saying. They're not gonna say it publicly, but they probably gonna be in that text group like, "Yo, see, that's why we ain't add them." Look, stand by your decision. That's all I'm saying. So, but getting into more of the game plan, I think Georgia Tech, they have to figure out a way to manage the game. And they have a dynamic running offense, right? They have a dynamic rushing group. So they have to figure out how to manage the game and speed the clock up, if that makes sense. And I'm talking about snapping the ball with 2 seconds left on the play clock, right? So taking their time, getting lined up, taking their time, sending the play in, and when the time is right, go ahead and snapping it. But not only that, they can take all the time they want, but they still have to move the chains. Right. So with that being said, you mentioned it already. They have the dynamic duo of Haynes and Haynes, the law firm, right? The ones you can trust. If y'all looking for a spokesman, man, holla at me. But they need to lean on these guys heavily. And I think that's their keys to success. And Florida State's probably going to be locked in on those guys. But like you said, they got to get creative in how they open up their run game. So if they can figure out ways to do that,
they'll give themselves a chance.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my pick, man. Parlay me.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Parlay me.
A double-digit underdog. You can make some real coin there.
Parlay me, please, man. You know my motto, man. Turn my 10 into 10,000.
Got to start somewhere.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
But that pretty much wraps it up, man. Before we get up out of here, I do want to say happy birthday to Sister Jean. She shares the same birthday as my son, August 21st. But my son was just recently born. She was born in 1919.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, Payton, I'm going to just read off some of the things that Sister Jean is older than, or the things that happened the same year that she was born. Man. Right? So if you don't know who Sister Jean is, Sister Jean is one of the great graduates of Loyola University. You can catch her on the sideline of the men's basketball tournament when they're playing. She most notably came to fame in the 2018 men's basketball tournament, where she was sitting on the sideline and the broadcasters were kind of excited to kind of share her story about some of the things. But big ups to you, Sister Jean. She's turning 105. So I just want to mention some of the things that happened either after 1919 or the same year as 1919. So here we go. The Packers were founded 10 days before Sister Jean was born. Right? UCLA was established the same year that she was born. Sister Jean and Jackie Robinson were born in the same year.
Wow.
Sister Jean is older than 135 countries. In 1919, the Star Spangled Banner was not the national anthem.
Wow. Man.
It was not the national anthem. Sister Jean is older than the NFL, Yankee Stadium, and Warner Brothers. Have you ever heard anybody ever say that you're older than sliced bread? Have you ever heard that phrase?
Yeah.
Yes. So Sister Jean is actually that. She's older than sliced bread, right? She's not only that, but she's also older than the Empire State Building. So I want to celebrate her.
She's wise.
Yeah, I want to celebrate her because 105, I mean, to live long like that by all means is marvelous, man. And I hope to live to 105 one day. That's why I'm in the gym now doing my thing. You know what I'm saying? Payton, you got to get you in there, bro.
I'm trying to catch up. You're getting me there.
All right. So, but with that being said, man, if you want to join the conversation, by all means, meet us in the comment section. If you're not already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Instagram. Payton just started a Facebook group. What's the Facebook group, Payton?
Thee Sportaholics. That's with 2 E's in the V. Check us out on Facebook.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And also, Russ, I want to point out again, if y'all are interested in that Week 0 recap between Florida State and Georgia Tech, let us know.
Yes.
We'd love to do that.
Yes. So
the live recap.
I think we should do that anyways.
Do it regardless.
Yeah, I think we should do that. So Week 0, we're gonna be live after the game or halftime, whatever. We'll figure it out. But in order to stay informed and catch up with us more, by all means, please make sure that you are following us on all our media outlets. So until next time, man, for Payton, I'm the host, Russ. He's the expert. Until next time, we are
Thee Sportaholics.
Let's do it.